Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Stubbs Aquatics. In this episode, I'm going to take you in behind the scenes here at Stubbs. See, as most of you know, I have a relatively small fish room, and I try to make the most of it. Now, I do have a couple of fish tanks outside of my fish room, and I try to make the most of that area too. I might have a couple ponds outside, but you'll see those more in the spring. I'm still working on trying to get a pond inside the house. Fingers are crossed. It's kind of a 50-50 deal right now. Who knows? Could happen. I'll also play my cards right and have my best P's and Q's and, be a good boy. It's a possibility. But let's get to the topic at hand. This is what I do to make the most of my fish room. See, I'm trying to optimize the space that I have. And I don't want to have shelves of tank after tank after tank. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I want my tanks to look like, well, they're more of a show tank, and they're functional too, because I want to keep the fish in here. I want them to look natural, but I also want them so I can access them. So if I want to breed them, I can. Now, bare bottom tanks and bare tanks are great for people who are, in the hobby of spawning and raising them all for profit. Now, I do want to sell some of my stuff for profit. Well, not really for profit, but to help me with the cost of my hobby. So here's what I do. Let's have a little tour of behind the scenes at Stubbs Aquatics. Now, you've all seen my fish room. And, it's just your average size, what would be a bedroom. Maybe a little bit bigger than the average size bedroom. But I try to fit as much as I can in it. So I have to be relatively organized. And who best to help me with that is my, pardon the expression, OCD sister, who is a neat freak. And when I told her I wanted to really organize my fish room, she was all over it, making labels for me. God love you, Laura, also known as Weed. I left the space in behind on my tank so I can get in there and work there. Also use that for storage area for my fish bins when I move fish. I have a setup for my hoses, just an outside water hose holder, and this is what I use to fill and siphon my tanks. It just makes things simpler. A nice spot to keep my filming equipment. And underneath my old 100-gallon tank is a nice size shelf. That's solid wood. It was made solid. And more labels. These are my flake foods. And below that are all my pellet foods. My medication and fertilizers. Because if I'm not organized, I'm in big trouble because I forget where I put things, and if I don't keep on top of things, I lose things real quick. So, my basically junk section, spare parts, cleaning equipment, priority, and the last one is for pumps. I got to get a label for that. Under the 125-gallon tank, I've got a couple functions for that. That's where I store all my media. And on the other side, I'm starting to culture the green water. It's just a start process because I really want to get my brine shrimp going. Got a small spot under this 90-gallon where I've got some brine shrimp going. I've just started a new culture of eggs there. And space here, well, I'm going to use that as a quarantine system. Not really big enough for a proper sized tank, but who says you can't use a plastic clear tote for a quarantine system? I think it'll work great. I said I don't have a ton of room, so I have to maximize what I have. Underneath this tank, being in my 90-gallon, I've got more totes with clear plastic, and it's where I grow extra plants. Just cuttings from my other plants that I have, and I sell those or trade them to local fish stores. Currently, I'm not using any air bubblers in there, and for fertilizer in the tanks, I just predominantly use a couple small uh, Shrunken goldfish. I did increase the number of tanks in here uh, by a few from last year. I'm thinking about turning these ones here sideways and getting two in, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that. I think they're harder to work out of when you turn them sideways. I'd like your opinion on that because it would give me two more tanks in this room. I just have to tell my wife that. I did add an extra tank in below here. This is just a shrimp tank. I'm hoping they take off. If they take off and breed well, I just may put those in with my plants. If you get a real good couple colonies, who knows? They are starting to get a little more friendly and coming out a lot more. It's just a problem keeping all the snails down. But these blue diamonds are starting to take off. I haven't seen any shrimplets yet, but I'm hoping that'll come soon. Above my tanks, I've got all my bars, easier access for me. They're safer. I've got two of them set up right now, and I think I'll add a third. It's just way better and much safer. A lot of you have seen my Barb City tank, and in behind that, I have space for a couple other tanks that I currently use. This is where I'm currently keeping my koi before they go outside in the spring. I've just got a few koi in here. They're doing really well. They're growing well. Well as I can in an unheated area. This room tends to get a little bit cooler than most, but I do have a hole in the wall here that's close to the heater that makes this room a little bit warmer than the rest of the basement. So it brings it up 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, which it all helps. And it doesn't cost me any more. I do have a little bit of space in below this tank where I can, for more storage. And I could probably put bigger tanks in here if I wanted. I might. That's why I was talking about turning the tank sideways in the other room, just so I can get a couple more in. Not sure I really need them though. Ask my wife, she'll say I don't need them. The only other tank I have going right now is this 30-gallon in behind my bar. Right now, my bar, Mom, it's not a bar. It's a spot for wayward plants in the summer. And I might just see if I can sneak in a fish tank here at the back of the bar, because it's not really much in use there. But who knows? I am not a neat freak. Just ask my wife. But I do my best. So keeping a well organized and relatively neat fish room really does help. And the neater it is and easier it is to keep clean, the more time you get to spend quality time with your fish, actually sitting back and enjoying them. So I hope you found all these little hints helpful, because this is what this hobby is about the time enjoying your fish, not always about cleaning and trying to find things, especially with me. Because if I don't put something back where it's supposed to go, I'll be a day and a half searching for it. And I'm relentless when it comes to that. I'll search and search and drive my family just insane looking for things. So better to be organized, and that way things are run much smoother. This is just the way I do it. I'm not saying it's right. It works for me. Maybe it'll work for you. Well, that was a quick tour of Stubbs Aquatics behind the scenes in the fish room. I hope this was helpful and gave you a couple ideas what you could do for your fish room just to get that much more out of it. Plus shelves really help as well. Plus a good spot to keep your mugs if you're collecting them. Or ducks. Well, thanks again, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a tour and found it helpful. If you did, hit that like button, think about subscribing, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Bye for now. We'll see you again real soon.